Let me be honest. If Islam was solely a matter of personal faith, I wouldn't bother to criticize it. But as I continue to appreciate and support Muslim people and freedom of belief in general, I still criticize Islam as a religion and ideology. Does that seem confusing or even hypocritical? Not really. Let me explain my stand and what even some Muslim people, especially those from a non-Arabic speaking background, do not know about Islam. Islam is a political movement, not a personal faith. And that's why I stand against it. Not against Muslims, but against Islam. And the difference is huge. Why do I say that Islam is a political movement and not a faith? Because at its core, Islam is a comprehensive way of life that governs the political, social, and economic dimension of a person's life. From its origins to the present day, Islam has been and always will be about governance and control. It's just hidden under the guise of religion to gain followers and justify its policies. This is evident from the fact that the Prophet Muhammad himself not only preached a message of personal salvation, but also established a political community in Medina, which became the foundation of the first Islamic state. Unlike Jesus Christ, and I'm not Christian by the way, I'm merely talking history here, but unlike Jesus, Prophet Muhammad was a theologian, preacher, warrior, and politician all at the same time. He established a new state which he led by combining religious and political functions. For believers, these were not separate entities, but meant to be intertwined under one leadership. Furthermore, the fact that the Quran is seen as the literal speech of God, not just a representation, such as in the Bible, is significant, as it makes it much more difficult for followers to question what they are told. It makes Islam more resistant to secularization or reformation, and even more prone to extremism. Of course, politics and faith are not mutually exclusive. A society can benefit from both, but the fact that in Islam the two are so closely linked is a huge red flag. Allow me to explain why. The political dimension of Islam is based on the concept of the Ummah, Ummah al-Islam, or the Islamic nation, which refers to the community of Muslim believers worldwide, not in one country. The Ummah is not just a religious community, but a political entity with its own set of laws, governance structures, and foreign policies. The goal of the Ummah is to establish a just and equitable society based on Islamic principles. Islamic law or Sharia is a key aspect of the political dimension of Islam. Sharia governs not only personal matters such as prayer, fasting, and charity, but also public matters such as commerce, finance, and criminal justice. Sharia provides a comprehensive legal framework that covers all aspects of human life, from birth to death, and from individual to collective action. Islamic Sharia tries to enforce moral ideologies as well. This is why in Islamic Sharia law, you find legal punishments such as lashing of the adulterer and death sentence for homosexuality. Islamic history is filled with examples of political involvement by Muslim leaders and scholars. They weren't only concerned by personal faith. The early caliphs, for example, were not only religious leaders, but also political figures who led armies and governed vast territories. Islamic law evolved over time through the contributions of jurists and scholars who engaged in debates and discussions on matters of governance and politics. Over time, Islamic political movements and parties have emerged around the world, seeking to establish Islamic states or to implement Islamic law in their societies. Today, there are many such movements around the world, ranging from mainstream political parties that are based on Islamic principles to more radical and militant groups that seek to establish an Islamic state through more violent means, like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Taliban, just to name a few. In the past, Islam played a significant role in shaping the Muslim community's common identity and ensuring continuity in Muslim governance. The presence of an Islamic ideology and system, despite its imperfections, validated and reinforced the idea of a community with a divine purpose and mission providing a divine reason for the Islamic State's existence. It gave Muslim rulers a justification for expanding their rule and empire throughout the Middle East, Africa, and various parts of Asia, including Spain and southern Italy in Europe. Islam was the religious ideology for the founding of many Muslim states, including the major Islamic empires such as Umayyad, Abbasid, Ottoman, Safavid, and Mughal. In each of these empires and sultanates from the 7th to the 18th centuries, Islam was utilized by rulers to legitimize their governance and guide the state's legal, political, educational, and social institutions, not just personal faith. The end of the Ottoman Empire in 1918 marked the end of Islamic rule over diverse communities with varying religious, ethnic, and linguistic backgrounds. In the process of nation building that followed, certain groups were systematically excluded or erased to create a homogeneous nation with a single religion and language. This homogenization played a significant role in politicizing religion and resulted in three major breakthroughs for Islam. It nationalized Islamic institutions and clerics. It redefined Sharia law and introduced Islamic references to secular legal systems. It integrated Islamic teachings into public education. Of course, as the world has become more connected, Islam has become under increasing pressure from Western ideology, and as a result has become even more politicized. So it is very important to note that when I criticize Islam or the Quran, I'm not in any way attacking people or their personal faith. We are talking about a much bigger picture with a huge political ideology here. In recent times, we started witnessing a modern resurgence of Islam in politics, which can be attributed to various global sad events that have taken place since the late 1960s. These events include the 1969 Malay-Chinese riots in Kuala Lumpur, which highlighted the growing tension between the Malay Muslim majority and the Chinese minority. The Pakistani-Bangladesh Civil War in 1971-72 signaled the failure of Muslim nationalism. The Lebanese Civil War in 1975 to 1990 showcased the inequitable distribution of political and economic power between Christians and Muslims. The Iranian Revolution of 1978-79, which had global implications for the Muslim world and the West. And of course, the ongoing conflict in Palestine-Israel till today has also contributed to the rise of Islamist movements, including Hamas and Islamic Jihad. The Quran consistently refers to Muslims as the believers, and all others, including Ahl al-Kitab, the people of the Bible, as mushrik or kafir, resulting in the exclusion of all others and the creation of anti-diverse communities. The complete opposite of today's Western values that embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. Unlike the Western laws where everyone is equal under the law, Islamic Sharia law categorizes the people to believers, mushriks, which includes Jews and Christians, and kafirs, which includes all others, including atheists and non-believers. These three categories are not equal under the Sharia law. For instance, Hadith Sahih, true Hadith, لا يقتل مسلم بكافر, states that you cannot give a Muslim believer death sentence for killing an atheist, for they are not equal under Sharia. So why should you care about all this? So what if Islam is a political movement? Or, if I'm equally critical and skeptical towards all religions, why do I pick on Islam in particular more than any other religion? Well, because it could have serious ramifications for your way of life, especially if you're not Muslim, and clearly I'm not. It is essential to understand Islam as a political movement to appreciate its complexity and significance in the modern world. Just cast your eyes towards what is happening in Europe right now. Countries in Western Europe have been flooded with millions of Muslim immigrants, many of whom cannot be integrated into their host nation societies. Not because the West don't want to, but rather because the Muslim immigrants don't want to. This has led to the disintegration of the societal beliefs of their host nations, which is based on democracy, freedom of religion, and the individual. Misunderstanding Islam as merely a religion has led to the dangerous acceptance of some people who have been taught to hate Western beliefs and the Western way of life. If allowed to continue, tolerance of this intolerance may ultimately result in the dismantlement of the Western society. Islam's social dimension is characterized by patriarchal control, which results in the subjugation of women living under Sharia law, who are subject to honor killings, genital mutilation, and denial of basic human rights. Similarly, LGBTQ individuals in countries ruled by Sharia law face abuse, revealment, and treated as outcasts, with the penalty of homosexuality being death. The Western world's belief in individual freedom is not shared by much of the Islamic world, where significant portions of the population believe in following Sharia law. So here I repeat, Islam is not merely a religion, but a political and social movement, with world domination as its objective, interpreted as such by millions of its adherents. Thus, it poses a clear and present threat to the culture, traditions, and other religions of the West. Islam is a political movement and not a personal faith. And like any political movement, it is one that we should be wary of and question at every opportunity. If not, it could have devastating consequences for us all.